Cold Grits doesn't like all these 500s. We'll swap them, but let's jump into a ranked. Yeah, so we're going to do a ranked core set draft. It is the ranked draft of the current cycle, and we're on the paid account. Since we're looking backwards a little bit by drafting M19, I want to try to look forwards on the free-to-play. But we do have gold to convert to gems, so let's do it. We're not going to worry about rare drafting. I'm not expecting to 4x M19 in anything. Although if we do have like if we happen to have 3 of an M19 rare, we can certainly go and convert one of our rares into a wild card, and it'll snap become 20 gems, and that's fine because all we're trying to do is convert wild cards to 20 gems. So we would do that if the opportunity presented itself. Now, what are we doing on the picks? Let's see. Luminous Bonds jumps out as a fine place to start. M19. Let's do a quick recap of M19 for those of you who hadn't drafted this for a while or never and are trying to figure it out for this week. Here's my memory of this format. It's fine. It's decent. I think the best deck, if you could just pick the best deck and get a version of the best deck that is solid, you would choose Boros because it's got a ton of token making and not a ton of token making. It's got decent token making and a ton of pump your team. That's really what it has a ton of that drives that deck. There's not a lot of sweepers, so you don't often get punished for going super wide. And then the red-white deck can chip in some early damage. And once the opponent sets up a defense, they can start to go wide and then eventually just drop one of the things that pumps their team. And then the wideness of the creature spread is enough to close it out. So ideally, that's where we end up, which is why I want to take Luminous Bonds here anyway. Other decks in the format that I like, Blue-Black Control is good. It's tough. It has a tough matchup, though, against White-Red because it's controlling in a kind of one-for-one, removal-y kind of way, grind-out advantage. And when the opponent is putting out a bunch of tokens, it can be hard to combat that. But Blue-Black Control is a thing. There's a green-blue kind of auras deck. There's a couple of hexproof creatures that can get, or not a couple of creatures, there's one key hexproof creature at uncommon that can get a couple of auras on it that are really problematic. So there's a white-green aura strategy that's not very good, but the auras from that strategy can work well on the hexproof dude. And I do like, there's a lot of dual lands in the set, so you can kind of go base green 5-color as well, because green has its usual color fixing. So I've had also a lot of success running in directions like this, where you get some 5-color fixing tools, of which, this is the rare one, but I think doesn't this have a Manolith in it? I think this has a common, basically, version of this without the dragon stuff. And you get that kind of thing, and the tap lands, and you can do a base green, good stuff. So that's kind of my recap of the format, and now let's do some drafting. And yeah, let's start with this Bonds and see if we can end up in the best deck in the format. Here's the Vine Mare I was talking about, and the Manolith, the common version of that rare from the last pack. Hedging towards a cheap Vine Mare. Like, the green is pretty decent in the format, as I recall, so this is totally playable. Let's check the rare, though. There's some funky rares in the set, and I thought this was one of them, and it is, but this is like basically not playable, so we can just ignore that. And we're looking at then Vine Mare, solid Aven Windmage for just a good solid creature. If we want to continue towards Boros, we could look at Motivator, but like Motivator and Ogre are playable in the deck, but I don't think they are. They're not picks here over the Vine Mare, which is just kind of the strongest card. So we'll take that, see where we go. Try to find our way. Here's another Bonds. We have uncommon missing here, and there may have been an uncommon missing last pack, and I failed to check it. Move the cam. Let's move the cam, and then let's check our print run. Do we not have a M19 print run? Let's search it up on the internet if it's not a command. M19 MTG Arena Uncommon Print Run Reddit. That's kind of what I Google, and then it usually finds it, and boom, there it is. My win rate is going up. We've had a good run of late, so in the short term, we're fluctuating towards up, but I think overall my win rate has been pretty steady between 60 and 61% for quite a while now. And here we go. Found uncommon print run. And we're going to find Gutter Snipe. So for those of you wondering what the heck we're doing right now, because there's always some new viewers who are not aware of this, it seems. In Magic the Gathering Arena, the uncommons appear in a consistent order in the packs in a way that they do not in any other Magic format, be it paper or Magic Online. And we can use that information to identify with certainty what 1 or 2 or sometimes 4 cards could possibly have been taken from a pack. And when it's pick 3, knowing what your neighbor to the right explicitly took out of a pack, that's practically cheating. Like in the Pro Tour, if you figured out how to do that, you'd get kicked out, you know. But Wizards is offering this to anybody who has the discipline to look it up when it happens, and it gives us on this stream a good advantage and a good way to kind of break some ties when you're struggling with some picks. So what we look up here is that Gutter Snipe and Diamond Mare are right next to each other. So alongside them are Ajani's Pridemate and Colossal Majesty. Interesting. Colossal Majesty is not really a first pick, which suggests that unfortunately we have a bot that has taken Ajani's Pridemate out of this pack. Diamond Mare is pretty good. It doesn't look like it is much. It feels like one of those throwaway life gain cards, but it's a real body at 1/3 for 2. Easy to cast, does some blocking. So I do like it, but despite the upstream signs, I can't really pass a second Luminous Bonds to go along with our first just because a bot took 1 uncommon to our right. But we're going to be aware of it and be wary of the fact that we are taking what seems to be a color that a bot has taken. Does your spreadsheet track format-specific win rates? No, not. I mean, it's pretty easy to filter the spreadsheet down to the format and structure that you're interested in, and subcalculate, but it doesn't do it automatically. Okay, we have another place to look up a missing uncommon. So let's check Dragon Egg. And we see Dragon Egg and Girapur Guide have Diregraph Ghoul, the 2/2 ETB tapped black uncommon, and Hieromancer's Cage. Ugh. So clearly like a Hieromancer's Cage pick, but another reason why White-Red is so good in the format is that it is so deep. And this pack is a good example of that. We know that that upstream, a bot has taken 2 good white cards out of recent packs, yet we keep getting great white cards. So I don't feel... it makes me uncomfortable to know that we may be competing with an upstream bot, but Corsair is so good, we're not going to not take it just because of that. Yeah, blue is open, but open with mediocre cards versus not open with still high value cards left. I'm going to go ahead and what we can do here is like take the Corsair. Let's say now white dries up completely, because that could absolutely happen. We still have the rest of this pack to find a second color, probably red, and then the rest of this pack, and then the second pack should be a total hookup, and then the third pack we fight a little bit again. Anyway, I think white is deep enough to just keep going down the path, obviously, is what I'm saying. And here we could even say, okay, I was talking about how this this archetype isn't that great, but maybe we have to give it a try here. Certainly, it seems like the pick here. There's nothing... We could take an Ogre or a Sure Strike towards the possible red-white deck that I prefer, but my goodness, this works perfectly with our 2 Luminous Bonds. Our Vine Mare wants auras, so maybe this is this system just telling us that we're actually going to try this. Yeah, Omen Speakers is fine playable as well, but I think we're just the bots are screaming at us to give this a try, and I'm not I'm not against certainly taking it there. This is technically an enchantment card, but we're not one we're playing. We will check our print run though. Continue to see what's going on around these. Oh, there, I found it already, that's why. Ravenous Harpy and Rupture Spire on one side, Sleep and Vinemare on the other. Probably a Sleep and Vinemare. Ravenous Harpy is good. Could be Ravenous Harpy and Sleep, but maybe a Vinemare gone upstream. Anyway, back to this pick. I don't think this is particularly playable. We could take a Stone Quarry, because if we do end up base green, this is where I mean, like you pick up a few of these lands and a Manolith, and suddenly your base green deck is searching up lands too. There, I know. Yeah, I know there's green fixing in here. That's why I like that possibility. So I actually kind of like the Stone Quarry to lean towards being able to splash. Titanic Growth is fine, but replaceable, as are kind of all of the red cards here. So where are you all at? Yeah, I'm with Corey. Basilisk is fine. Thud, not quite as good. Let's see where Thud is in the run, though. Militia Bugler and Psychic Symbiont above, and Reassembling Skeleton Exclusion Mage below. Could be any of those things. So we don't really get much information out of this at this point. I was just kind of curious, like especially with one, failing to narrow it down at this point makes it not very good info. Knight's Pledge is along the lines of what we're doing here. I don't like moving in on it, but if I guess I kind of want to take the solid 2/2, this solid creature over an on-theme aura that we should, like, if we do this, we should be saying, okay, part of the reason we do this is because we get stuff like this super late and it rewards us for having that late. So I'm kind of inclined to take the creature and then try to pick up those enchantments that nobody else wants if we end up committing to this approach. And here we can go ahead and take a giant growth, though. It's fine. Pyromancer and Hellion continue to say, hey, maybe we could also end up building on Luminous Bond's Courser and red stuff, but I think we got to take the signals here, especially the boar is fine. We'll take the boar. I just kind of don't want to be in this deck, and so I'm looking for ways out, but I think we're just in it, and we'll see what we can do with it. If we were out, we would probably want this, so I'll take that. Best of one, I don't think we're going to main deck and naturalize, and charge is fine. You really want this in the go wide, and this right here, a pick like this at 12 is exactly why Boros is kind of where you want to be in this format, that you get, there's just so many of these that they're easy to pick up. But this is one of the better ones, and with the +2, you have to find your times where you're willing to say, you know what, I'm going to 1 for 1. They thought they were going to trade this combat, and I'm going to just give my creature an extra toughness and instead going to win combat. Don't be afraid to use it as a 4-mana combat trick for one creature, and then it can be useful. Yeah, looks like we could have been in red too. Well, yeah, right. Cold Grits. Like, it's not where I ever look to be. I don't think I've ever drafted this this deck in the format, but it's what's lining up here. Darn it. Is that bomby enough that despite the double blue, we try and, get enough of the fixing and the Rupture Spire to cast it? Like, I wouldn't put it past the Windreader Sphinx to hit the table in this deck. So it's not, you don't have to ignore that as a possibility. However, Take Vengeance is strong removal. You have to take a licking from the creature once, usually. But then it's a really a good value play in terms of mana. You can almost think of it, you know, there's some black removal spells that'll be like 1 in a black sorcery, pay some amount of life and destroy a creature. This is kind of like that. You're just paying some life and then destroying the creature. So, and there's some support for Druid. The Druid's okay. And we'll take him if we get him, but I think I'll start with the removal here. And yeah, we'll salute the Sphinx and move on. White-black Vampires is a good deck in this format. Here's another Take Vengeance, but Bonds is just better. For 1 more mana, it does a similar job, and you don't have to take the hit, and you can clear a blocker. Gift of Paradise, there we go. There's the kind of fixing I was talking about, and it does, in fact, work with the Enchanter. Now, come on. Look, Universe. I'm going to play frickin' green-white auras in M19 draft. Can you hook me up with at least 1 more Enchanter, please? Not an Enchanter, but this is a card for the deck. But, unfortunately, it does not combo with Luminous Bonds, unless you just want to turn Luminous Bonds into a weird 3-mana, create a 3/3 token. There's Meandering River. It's probably still what we take here and continue to look for the things we actually, the positive auras. We don't even have a positive aura even for Vinemare yet. But because we have Vinemare, we are going to be looking for them. So we may as well take a Druid of the Horns and see if we can actually get what this deck is trying to do to work. Yeah, 6/6 body, also fine. I'm with the Cold Grits, but I'm also here, like, darn it, if we're down this path, we're doing it, okay? Let's do it. There's an Oaken form that would be doing it. Sun Cleanser's in color. 1/4 is... a 1/4 for... the vanilla test here is fine, right? 1/4 for 2. And it's a counter Messer Wither, but I don't think counter Messer Wither is better than just doing what we're actually trying to do here. Another Luminous Bonds, and another Courser. I'm just going to keep taking all these bonds and hope we find another Enchanter. Here's one of your big payoffs for being the red-white deck, and look where it's coming. Pick 7. So if we had just... looks like red got cut a little bit to our right, and if we had ended up in white-red somehow, I think, oh man, would have been great here. But can't do anything about that now. Instead, we can either Knight's Pledge to continue to go down this path and work Druid of Horns and Vinemares, or we can take a generically beefy dude. I think the generically beefy dude may be correct, or even the Vanguard if we're going to be trying to put Knight's Pledges on things. But I'll go with a Knight's Pledge. We'll continue to try and do this and just hope we can find some more payoff cards. We need more payoff cards. Chaplain's okay here. Not going to play the Welcome. So do we take Highland Lake? Yeah, we take the Highland Lake. I'm really not playing that Welcome, so even if we were to draw, like, find, like, Pride Mates or whatever, we'll take the land just in case. Yep, here's another. This is classically how I end up splashing in green decks, that things like Woodland Stream come around late. There's nothing else to take. We're not playing that, so we take Woodland Stream, and now suddenly we have splashes towards blue and red, and that's cool. Here's another chance at an Inspired Charge, or Titanic Growth number 2, or Inspired Charge number 2, or number 3. All right, we'll take Inspired Charge number 2 over Growth number 3. And snap this up as well. Now we have 2 lands to the blue splash. This is just generically playable because it cycles itself, but it's not exciting, and you'd bench it if you could help it. This... if we get kind of combo-y, I could see us wanting to play that. And Revitalize is super... I don't really want to play Revitalize. It's more, you know... It's kind of a 2-mana waste of time. But at least it's not a 2-mana waste of a card. Well, we would love another Vine Mare to continue moving towards something combo-y on that front. And with our double blue, there's one aura that makes the enchanted creature unblockable that's really brutal with the Vine Mare, so we're going to look out for that, given our capability to splash blue here. But nothing's getting us off Palaka Laka. Yeah, I mean, one charge is enough, but so is one growth. Like, there just wasn't really a good pick there. Artificer is all about the blue-white artifact deck that we are not in. I would rather almost take the a second Meandering River and shore up a blue splash here than almost anything I'm looking at. I mean, the Arcane, excuse me, a little burp. Arcane Encyclopedia is playable. Best of one. I tend to like to bring in the Encyclopedia when I know it's going to be good in the matchup, and this can get run over by red-white, and it's the best deck in the format, and we're on Arena, so people are going to be able to get it more reliably because they are better drafters than the bots. So I don't want to take that for a best of one format. That leaves us with another Oaken Form or splash capability, and yeah, we'll keep moving in on this strategy. Wowie! We'll take the double truly Palaka Laka now. Splashable Shock, but woohoo. Maybe this will come around. Here's another aura-friendly creature, but could probably wheel this Druid of Horns, don't you think? With what we've been seeing. And I kind of want to take the Rejuvenator to get to these Palaka Worms. Like, this is a 7 mana bomb, but it is 7 mana, so let's take the thing that helps us get there. And if we can wheel one of these, great. But really, this is all cute and everything, but Plan A, we have Plan A, and that's cast one of our 2 Palaka Worms. I don't see much I care about here. This is playable. It sits there doing something, and then you can fire it off for a card at some point. Here's another one of your rewards for going wide. But none of this stuff is of interest to me, so I think we're just on Fountain as a possible playable. Don't really need it, though. If we want life, let's just ramp to Palaka. Here's another way to splash blue. We just haven't come up with anything worth splashing, and we're closing in on the end of the packs here, so we'll take another Courser, though, pretty happily. It's got Trample, but, you know, throw it up in the sky. Seems good. Oh, look! We found it! This is what we were talking about. I was going to take this, but Ether Tunnel is exactly what I was talking about. Too bad we didn't get... Maybe we'll get one of those blue lands on the wheel. That would be amazing. If we came up with another blue-white or blue-green dual land out of the wheel. Not here, but we do get a simple playable in the 4-2 draw card, 5-drop. Invoke the Divine is not a bad... I like it better than Naturalize, obviously, as a main deck component. The 1 extra mana for the 4 life is nice, but we do have another Knight's Pledge here we could take. Too bad we didn't find another Enchanter. I don't know if we're playing all these Knight's Pledges and stuff. Such that we'd rather have an Invoke, but I'll take the Pledge and we'll see what we want, how deep we want to go. Hey, and cool, we got it. This is fantastic. Tunnel, fully splashed now, and now we got to decide whether... See, like, I'd rather play something like this than a Knight's Pledge, something that we can get back to re-trigger if we happen to get the Enchanter out. And, yeah, Wolves is solid. We do have a 5 here, but we have no other 5s. That's kind of what I'm doing here. I would love to swap one of these Knight's Pledges for a Talons, but I think we need to take the Wolves here. What are we looking at in creatures? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, we're only at 13 creatures. I'm going to take the Thornhide Wolves. We can't... I would like that Oh, shoot. If I'd known we were coming, this would all wheel, I think I would have taken the aura, but we're fine. We'll take the druid here. Be happy it came back. Revitalize is playable, but we probably won't. And same with all this stuff. All right. We got some cuts, so that's cool. 7 cuts. We have 15, 15. Probably gonna have to cut some of the less desirable auras. Wow, this deck looks fun though. Probably not a charge deck. And really probably even not a Titanic Growth deck. Keeping 1 in here kind of like... So why did they change it so you can't use the land that you drafted? Probably elegance of coding, and you know, sometimes you get weird connection points of like, well, how do we resolve, you know, the way we handle basic land is A, and these packs that have loose basic lands in them, like, because normally the plan was to not have basic lands in boosters. In draft boosters, and figuring that either we were going to be in a world where, mostly you're in a world where either all the packs contain a basic, or none of the packs contain a basic. And M19 is one of those weird spots where some of the packs contain a basic, and so you kind of have to leave them in there. And if you allow everybody to draft and use all of these different kinds of basics, you introduce a whole suite of problems that you as a designer now have to solve. What is the mechanism by which I'm going to select between the different basics in my collection? How is that UI going to function? What's the design of that layout? Is there any coding in the back end that is really simplified because we have one type of basic land and what? Anyway, it seems simple. Hey, why can't I use the basic land I drafted? But in terms of the work those types of decisions generate for your staff when you're running a game dev team, they become significant features to ask for, even when from a distance it doesn't seem like you're asking for much. And it can also depend on what happened previously. This is where I've said I'm a very non-technical designer, so the way I put it was that I've spent my design career in a trust fall with engineers, and they tell me what's easy and what's not. And what I've learned is that I'm terrible at predicting what's easy and what's not. I say something that I think sounds like it would take 10 minutes, and they say 10 days. And I say something that sounds like it would take 10 days, and they say it's already done. You know, I've kind of given up trying to understand exactly what's hard. It tends to be contextual. But often when you encounter something frustrating in a video game and you say, why didn't they blah? It may have to do with hidden costs of implementing that feature to 100% polished way that makes them just want to instead take a cheaper, shorter, faster, blunter approach, like let's just make those basics disappear and ignore the problem. Wolf is wondering if we're talking spoilers yet. Well, where are we at? No, not yet. We're only at 61 viewers. We're going to we'll do that later this morning. Yeah, Nantuko makes a good point that taking away a feature just because of its maintenance costs is a real feel bad for people who enjoyed that feature. That's undeniable. Yeah, what are we cutting here, though? I think... Let's see. If we keep all of our aura stuff, let's just say we're just all in on this one Satyr Enchanter and the couple of reward cards we have for the auras. We're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4 positive auras, 5 positive auras, right? 5 positive auras. Maybe we cut one of those. Yeah, let's cut the Titanic Growth. That was a lingering thing, but like, yeah, if we're going to go in on this, we need to go in on this, and the way we're buffing our creatures is auras, not growths. And maybe we can cut Highland Game, go to 14 creatures. We go to 13. I think we got to cut one of these auras. 2/2 versus 3/3 for a 1 mana difference. Yeah, and then us devs can't even estimate right. I mean, it's not easy. It's a... Oh, I could go on and on, but it's a problem of the human mind's unpredictable problem-solving capabilities. You put a coding problem or kind of any problem, logic problem, puzzle in front of a human, and the same intelligence human or the same human on a different day may take 10 seconds to have an inspiration and solve a difficult problem, or may not hit that inspiration for 3 days. Like, and that's... Engineers are so often tackling problems like of inspiration like that it can be very difficult to predict how long things are going to take. Okay, where are we at? We're 2 cards away. And I think we could cut one more creature if we wanted to. But I think we need to cut like a creature and one of our auras. So should we cut a Knight's Pledge or an Oaken Form? Oh yeah, sure. We'll take that out. Nothing that's in there for. Nantuko's taking it to the masses. Yeah, three for cutting a pledge. I'm sold. We'll cut a pledge. And then our let's cut our worst creature from here, right? We can do 13. It's a little awkward. Maybe setting ourselves up. But I don't want to cut a gift because it gets us to the worm and it works with the enchanter. Man, this is a tough final cut here. Absurd that I'm doing it at all. Cold Grits, like you think we should cut it? Or I'm having trouble discerning the context of your use of the word absurd there. But suddenly Palaka Worms that can't be blocked, or you know, six power hexproof unblockables. Yeah, the wolves could go. They're pretty generic, but they're very solid in this format. I would almost rather lose like a basilisk, since we have really, you can think of as far as creatures go, this is kind of like a removal spell, and we have 4 bonds. Yeah, Stag would have been good. I think I want to keep the wolves. I think I like getting rid of the... We're choked at 3, and the basilisk is basically a removal spell. I think it was correct, Nantuko. I think if we had the trample... Like, if we had that enchantment, maybe we would run it, but I think this is correct to run. Okay, let's do... what's a good aura pun? Sorry. All right, here we go. Let me update this stuff. Record is 0-0. Looks keepable. And I remember to move my camera. Did I do it first? Oh, darn it. Double D's reminded me. Thank you, Double D's. And Nantuko. I like just the way you are. That's good. So let's see, what are we looking to do? Courser into, if we find land, into boar, into flying oracles. Hopefully we save the Oaken form for a time when we get guaranteed value out of it. If we can't find the satyr, we want to put it on like put it on one of those uncommon dudes. This smacks of Titanic growth, but also it's a free attack for them if they have no tricks. Since we have a courser backup and a trick is going to get us anyway, I think I'm going to block here. What would make me not want... I've kind of lost familiarity with the format, but if there's an obvious card that would get them a 2-for-1 here if I blocked, that would dissuade me from it, but I am okay with trading the courser for a combat trick. So we'll see if they have that. And they don't. We have a tap land, but we want to drop our regular so we can play the boar. And now we'll see if they attack into this boar, given that they've shown us that they do not have a combat trick. And the answer is no. We get to play Forest and Oracle, or we could River. I was going to say, if we can guarantee 1 spell this turn and 2 next, I would, but we can't. So let's just go ahead and Oracle. And we can attack first, too. Yeah, fancy. You can use your fancy stuff in draft. You can make it hard for anybody to read what color your stuff is. Hey, Tim Nose, how you been? Now they're in it. Do we give them the 2/2 for the Dissenter? Seems like that's what they're saying they've got here. They didn't show a trick before, so we'll try again with this. Now we can play the Plains and have our 2-spell turn. That seems worth it. This one can't be blocked by more than 1, so we'll leave that on the ground to hopefully tangle there, and we'll make the Oracle fly. And we're playing into open mana, but they haven't shown anything. I think they would have murdered or whatever before now if they'd had it, so I'm going to risk the blowout with a Oaken form on Oracle, because play patterns to this point suggest they had to have drawn something like just now for this not to work out the way we want, or be incredibly disciplined in a way that would super surprise me. That's pretty reasonable. They get to 1-for-1. But that sure looks good for us if they can't do anything about the Oracle or basically both of the coursers. Could be worse. We get to replay and get that bounce, and we at least have a block there. So we'll start with the Oracle, see what we find. I wonder if we want to keep a green, though. Let's see, we have the white, green, Aura, Knight's Pledge, Take Vengeance. We would play Take Vengeance. So actually, we want to have white available, so that's fine. We'll do it like. But we have a plains we can play, so no need to do it that way. We do it this way, and then we can play the plains no matter what. And nothing to play though, so we'll play one of our tap lands. And now I think we come in with one Courser, we leave the other one back to block, and then we're threatening lethal if we have a Courser and an Oracle on untap. Yeah, that's true. We have an Oaken Form as well. So now we are gonna, because we have the Oaken Form, we're just gonna take all this. Well, I don't want to die. There's nothing in blue and black that's gonna kill us from here. So I'm gonna not even risk the block here. I think it's riskier to block than it is to take. Nice. Coursers lifting each other even higher to victory. There's a Drain 3 spell. Okay. Yeah, a lot of my narrow choices in spots like that may be incorrect because of my forgetfulness with this format and what I'm playing around. So it goes. Oh, we didn't go and do our spin. Oh well. And that's exactly the one I would have spun. I knew I was going to forget, too. It's suboptimal to be as forgetful as me. But we'll spin here. Yep. Did our spin anyway. One-oh. Well, that's not a bad combo, and got all our mana. And although we don't have mana for this, but we are going to keep anyway and see if we can't find our green. No, that's the worst draw in our deck right now. We would like to see no more planes the rest of this game. Gift ain't bad, though. Maxing mana would be Courser plus Knight's Pledge, but we don't want to put Knight's Pledge on the Courser, so we're just going to Mayor here. Yeah, I suppose I could have put it there, but I did want two sources of green, so yeah, it actually would have been a big mistake to put it there. I'm not saying you thought that was correct, Hex, just observing at what a punt it would have been. Alright, there's some of our aura action. We're a green away from a Palaka Worm, and we can two-spell here. I think Bonds plus Courser is actually the two spells we want here. So close. Now we do want to pledge the Courser so that it can make it through the Drake. Mare can now trade with the Snapping Drake, but that's acceptable. If we drop one of the Pelaka Worms, we just want the Courser to be around. Oh, yeah, 2. Sorry, we do. We just need any land. Correct. Great. I was thinking this did the whole add 1 of any color and 1 of what the land produces, not 2 of anything. Reading Magic cards. It's a strong play, reading Magic cards. Not everybody does it, but it's a strong play if you can find the line. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but we're so close to blowing this up. Carpe wanted to pledge the Mare. I suppose there's an argument for pledging the Mare, that we don't care about flying because the stuff is all going to be so big that it's just attacking through Oppo's things anyway. So yeah, there's a definite argument for letting that Courser go and having the Mare right now. That's fair. I auraed the Courser because, I mean, hey, it got killed, but let's not forget that the play I did decide to do left us with a 3/5 flyer ready to attack and lift green creatures into the air. So while you can argue it was suboptimal, it wasn't like some terrible play. Well, try it again. It can still attack for 1. All right. Yeah, it turns out it wouldn't have mattered, but it's still a very worthwhile puzzle to consider. All right, so they got back the Nova. Unfortunately, we can't just win here. Too bad. Question is, do we put Ether Tunnel on the Oracle just to get in some extra damage before the world blows up? And probably not. Oppo surviving all that we have presented is pretty impressive, but, you know, rare sweepers can do that. And I don't want to trade the Salvager. Yeah, we'll say no attacks here. See if they want to Nova this. Yeah, I think they're in the tank about this Nova decision. I wouldn't if I were them. We're not attacking, so hopefully that doesn't have vigilance, right? All right. So they get a card off of that, but then we can vengeance it. And I'm not going to attack on this board. We keep getting land. That's not very helpful. A lot of mana up, so counterspell, not a surprise here, but we can't not try. I think we got... worked. Now we gotta force the Nova, yeah. I was gonna try and do it by killing the Sphinx and finding something, but now it looks like we gotta try and race the Sphinx and force the Nova. Yeah, Revitalize becomes a much more interesting card to me in Limited when you're digging for cleansing Novas. And too bad we didn't take that Sphinx. We ended up with enough support to actually play it. Alright, well hopefully we land these wolves. Nope. I guess we should have led with the Chaplain in case they would have countered anything we tried. Don't think they would have countered that though. Oppo's playing really well. They played to their to the strength of their hand and have used the power of their cards to overcome me resolving 2 Palaka Worms. We might still find a way to push through final damage, but I would say they have the advantage pretty significantly here, especially now with that. Salvager is the key component of the blue control style decks in the format. When we were reviewing the format at the beginning of this draft, I was talking about blue-black control and basically... looping Salvager stuff is the kind of the big way that Oppo's deck gets there. Let's throw this on the Big Drake. We have 16 cards to their 14. But we'll stay back on D. Decking them is maybe our best avenue here. That makes it awfully difficult, unless we find some more bonds. We have 2 more Luminous Bonds. We have Druid of the Horns, 2 Druid of the Horns, and 2 Oaken Forms, and a Satyr Enchanter. So if we kind of draw our Enchanter and then kind of luck into the right ordering of other stuff, that could work. Although we also don't want to pass Oppo on cards in library so that they deck first. So that's a consideration as well. No, we don't have 2 Palakas. We have 2 Palakas in our graveyard, unfortunately. Check that out. No blocks. Don't have. We do have 2 more Luminous Bonds, which is really what we need. We need a Luminous Bonds for the Serpent, and then we should be okay. That's actually okay that the Oaken Forms are down. It would be nice to get the Chaplain to be a 4/6 lifelinker, I suppose, but we still have outs here to stabilize long enough to deck them. Oh yeah, they have cancel, that's true. So we need 2 outs. Probably not taking this one, but we will draw it out. I'm gonna save the boar. It'll get canceled. But I think we want to do the cancel fight when we have 2 spells to choose from, so we can decide how to sequence them. Does that make sense? Maybe it doesn't. Like, what else we get? Like, this is probably our least important draw anyway. So if they want to cancel it, it's probably the one we want canceled. So actually, I'm going to go ahead and play it. Ether Tunnel. I don't know what we should do about set reviews, and I mean, I'm going to talk about some of the previews that we've seen so far today, but a full-on set review seems a little much, especially without a partner. Audio, you know, long audio set review could be tough on me, but I'm thinking about that. I'm trying to figure out what the people want that I can give that makes sense to do. Yeah, maybe what I'll do is kind of the thing that LR does when it's a master set. You know, not a card by card, but let's take a look at the archetypes and think about what we think is coming. Draconis, hello. That was not a great draw for us. I think, yeah, we're still not quite doomed, so I'll wait. It's not going to help us. Deck, not going to help. I'm going to throw a chump here while they're letting us. Well, there's the bonds we needed right when they got a stag that makes the bonds less important, but we'll see if we can get it down anyway. There's another one, so we could go bonds into stabilize long enough. Might have to bonds the Rustwing, though, over the Starcrown, because we could play 2 Druid. We could play... Yeah, it's rough. We're just dead. Yeah, you're too late. Alright. Nice job, Oppo. It's a good war story to tell about that time you overcame 2 Palaka worms. Update this record, grab a quick beverage, and be right back. I get if we have, I'm not sure how much coffee we have left. It'll either be very fast or coffee preparation fast. 1 second. All right, thanks for waiting. Let's get back to it. Weird it's taking this long to match us. It's not like we're 6-0 or something. Alright. Looks solid. Would like a little something something to go on here. There's a little something something. This is a turn 1 play that makes me really want to win the matchup. I feel like we should... There are some life gain rewards, but not generally enough to justify playing this card, so it makes me want to beat it. What up, Oni? We'll go straight to the Courser. We can gift later. Right now we have Courser into Druid. And then I Courser into Druid into Paradise into Oakenform, right? On turn 5, we spend 3 to aura up one of our 2 remaining lands to get 3 more. Certainly not giving us any other ammo to work with. Hey, my name is 14. Glad you found your way back. Well, we will follow through with the play as stated. Since we literally got nothing but lands since the time I made that plan, and Oppo didn't disrupt it, I guess we do the plan. Hey, Oni. Yep, we see you. You did it. Too bad. They had the removal, and of course we're just flooding out. Well, flooding out is not the worst if we can find a Palaka to play off of it. And at least, since we have the Courser, we get to keep attacking. And this is one of the payoffs. I basically expected this card to be in the deck because of this. Like, that's kind of the combo you're looking for. Now they have a blocker in the air, unfortunately. I wonder... Shoot. Well, new plan. Vinemare into Ether Tunnel. Really? No, it's quite blockable, right? I mean, if I'm Oppo, I would put Bloodlord and a bat on it. What am I... Oh, not... Reading cards is fundamental. Sorry, gang. I will try and actually read all my spells from here. I'm acting like I know this format, and I don't. I'm proving that I do not. So, do we block here? That's one question. They may see this as a free attack. Okay, let's try my new acknowledgement that I don't remember this format. What are we worried about with 1 black? I'm going to gather, but chat can tell me if we have a known 1 black instant we need to worry about here while I look it up. Except I don't even know what they call this set, apparently. Yeah, I can't look it up in time. So, it feels like they're just taking a free attack here. Nightmare's Thirst. Okay, well, you found something, so I'm going to skip... no, I'm going to skip it. Now watch them have it. I truly meant to skip that. Okay, well, we got lucky, but you found something, so I was like, nah, let's not do it. Wow, and that it's going to cost them because we get to take out their annoying token maker now, so that's cool. And since I've read the Vine Mare, I'm excited about attacking. Let's Vengeance the Bloodlord first, though. Still can't... No justification for sending those, though, so we'll just send the Vine Mare. What is this expansion called? Core Set 2019? Core Set... Yeah, there it is. Just seeing if there's anything else. Bonds is good too. They're not really attacking us. Infernal Reckoning is the only other one, and all right, Luminous Bonds. Do we even need that yet? This is still the only thing they can block. Let's at least start with that attack. I think we just want to keep these back on D. And maybe just save the bonds for something that makes them want to attack. They ought to be attacking with the Vampire Sovereign, though, so... Oh, this might be a trick of some kind. Ending our mare. That's a bummer. Now, now I'm gonna... I don't know why they didn't attack with it before, but we're gonna bonds the Sovereign. Zombie Horror. Did it make an insect sound? It's not really an insect. Maybe that's the sound of infection. Well, that was a pretty big deal that they took away our solid attack, but at least they seem to be in the tank here. Palaka Worm would represent more, until that play, would represent more power than they have on board. And the Courser, of course, can make it launch. But we're flooding out again a bit. And hoping for some help off the top. My old man back is complaining. I think it knows it's my birthday on Sunday, so I'm I think my body's reminding me of my age in a timely fashion. I'm gonna wait, see if we can find something else to team block that and not have to give up our Courser. Closing in on it, man. It's closer than I want it to be. All right, Oaken Form. Maybe you have to take some risks here. If we Oaken Form, we can double block the zombie and the Courser survives. We could put it on the 3/3 and make a 6/6, but what does that really do for us? Not much. We could hold it in hopes that we find one of our other rewards. And we do have a couple of turns before the two-headed zombie really needs to be stopped. I'm going to hold. I'm going to hold. Maybe that's silly. I guess if they had Courser answers, they'd already have used them. It's just that if we have Oaken Form and we happen to draw the Enchanter or one of the the other Druid of the Horns. We'll really wish we had this, but I don't know if it's worth saving for a 2-outer when we're going to have to throw this down and block eventually. Yeah, I guess probably the odds aren't there for playing to a 2-outer, and I should just Oakenform up the Courser and try and stop the attacks. Little greedy to try and play for a 2-outer, which will now hit, but let's not be results-oriented. We think it's correct to hope they don't have the removal to really make this stink and see if we can't stabilize here. I guess no matter what, they were going to get that man with that solution. So now we're looking for another creature to answer this menace. All right, perfect. We lose one of our Palakas and 2 of our Bonds, unfortunately. But we do now have something that can gang up on that zombie. Ooh, maybe I need to do stretches. Ah, old man body. I think standing is still better for me. Like, I feel worse after I sit for a long time, so as old as I'm feeling today, I think we'll still stand. All right, cross your fingers. Hope this is enough. Jeez, Courser is... We're asking a lot of this poor Courser. I think they should be throwing away bats now. Send it all in. And on that front, I would have just put that on a bat so that a bat could attack along with everything else. Like, if they put that on a bat, they could send in 3 things. But we'll say no blocks and hope to find our... I guess we used our... We could use another Bonds. That would do it. That's also not bad. Join the fray, friend. Is it going to be enough, though? That's the thing. It's not bad, but we're not great. Well, no real choice but to block stuff and hope. In fact, maybe let's... If they are afraid now and are attacking desperately, then this is it. But actually what I'm expecting here is +2/+1 the team. +2/+1 the team still doesn't kill the Palaka off the Horror, at least. But it would take out the Courser. If we don't block with the Courser and they have that, we're taking 10. And we still live, but then we're dead to the Crackback. So I think we have to block this way, but I'm expecting +2/+1 here. I mean, maybe given that, we actually do just put it on the Priest to save more damage. A little extra damage. And if they don't have anything, we remember that for the next attack. Yeah. Let's try this. Okay, well, surprising. Maybe some... Is there a -X to everything type spell? No. All right. Worked. They're just afraid of this worm and all it represents, apparently. Well, my read was pretty solidly that they had a pump spell there, in which case I think it was better to block the Priest. If we expected the Courser to die, we wanted to block the Priest. Now we could leave the worm back to threaten the Priest, but happy to block these flyers. And even being ready on the... Like, we can ground block the Priest and sky block the bats, and then looking like we're turning a corner here. Oppo just charging in. I'm gonna... this block worked last time. I don't... Is this them just giving up to the worm? I don't know what's going on here. Maybe they have a cleansing nova they're playing into? Yeah, there you go. We now know what's going on here. When you don't know what's going on, it's probably a sweeper. Because, you know, our lot in life is to battle through cleansing novas with our aura deck. No need to pledge now in case they remove it. Really no need to pledge next turn. They're just going to chump, I'm sure. Now we got to decide what we're really doing. I'd like to see another creature here that we can put the pledge on. Make 2 big threats instead of a giant wolf. Yeah, there's like no real need to put the pledge on the wolf at this point. It's not changing enough. I don't think we can attack. We'd be taking 5 on the crack back, so we'll sandbag a land and the pledge and try and find some more action. We know our bottom 3 or whatever has a Pelaka worm, so that our other Pelaka worm's not realistically coming soon. This is good though. May just leave the wolves back on D, throw the pledge on the courser, and just kind of clock in the air. But again, no need to pledge until we're going to be attacking. Oh. Second monitor jostled. Hold on. That totally ruins my whole setup. I hate that. But Tunnel interesting also, but probably not the play yet. I'm going to keep a forest in case they have discard I'm not thinking about. And pledge up the courser. And see if we can get away with clocking them this way for now. Worried about all the cards they have. They may be sandbagging a bunch of land more than we are or something. Great, more land. Sure, I'll play that. Ugh, when I lose my second monitor, it sends everything over there onto my primary monitor and mucks everything up. So now I'm kind of trying to undo that whilst trying to turn a corner here. Sure. I mean, we only have 10 cards left in the library, so seeing this huge percentage of our land isn't wildly unusual, but a little frustrating as we're trying to close this out. Alright, well, if Mind Rot's a thing, we'll keep 2. Just because the land's not doing anything, it may as well protect us against that. They're at 9 to our 10. Keep that in mind as well. Okay. Now, because if this dies, we don't get to do the tunnel trick on it, I'm going to do the tunnel now to get our value out of it. And now we actually also have the ground defenders such that we can launch the Thornhide as well. Yes, but guy losing to guy running a Johnny's Welcome loses in a very profound way. Are they Dobbs? They got a flyer blocker. Oof. Really, Oppo? You're going to take 12 years to make that play? Why do people tank like that? Were they getting a snack? Like... Maybe they just want this exact reaction, but... The slow roll is just like, what are you doing? Can we get on with it? Sure. Are we done with lands yet? 4, 5, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So 1 land left. 3 Luminous Bonds left. So you know... how do we play this? We gotta draw bonds soon. You can leave the wolves back, threaten to double block, and... Actually, I think what we do is send just the Druid. And with Palaka Worm looming, I'll go ahead and play lands in case we get into a play 2 situation. 8 to 7. We can expect that 3 of Oppo's 8 unknown cards are land. Kind of puts us in a spot now where we have to trade for the worm. It's unfortunate, but our draws are still good, and they only get 1 of these. So we lose the Thornhide, but still have a decent defender in the 3/3. Yeah, although they were already beating us in that race, so we really don't want them to, like, draw cards. Oh no, does this mean they can't lose? No, it doesn't mean you can't lose. Look at me, see, here we are, reading cards. Reading cards on Going Optimal. It's indestructible. Okay, so it's a 5/5 indestructible, and this explosive apparatus is making it so. That is annoying, means we have to chump our way through here. Let's see. Enchanter is maybe even something... I guess we can play it and chump with it. Or chump at some point with it, but we have to make sure we stay ahead on cards in library. So if we draw Luminous Bonds, we actually don't want the Enchanter to... What gets blown up? Now I do think we're not even really on a win by attacking game plan. What are you talking about, Dow's kid? Yeah, they're not using this. Like, this is just not even really a spell. I'm Dob. Yeah, well, I'll make him see it. And we'll get rid of this so we don't discard anymore. All right, I think they saw it. And we have the ignominy of defeat at the hands of a Johnny's welcome. You're welcome, says a Johnny. I don't think this matters, but we'll do it this way. Oh no, that's unblocked. Yeah, that's good. All right. Well, that's magic for you. Oppo's deck is not very impressive. Neither is ours, frankly. There's a reason I was looking for ways out of being the green-white enchantment deck in this format. But it looks like what our seat was telling us to be, so we're giving it a try. At least this lack of success is happening over here on the paid account, where bombing out is of... hurts a little less. You know, we always want to win, but less of a big deal on this account for me. Let's play one more game, see if this... I mean, this might wrap up the whole event. Then maybe after this we'll do some chatting about the new set. Wolf says, I'm considering going to my first Pro Tour Grand Prix in July, since I really like competitive draft. Got any advice? Well, you can't just go to a Pro Tour. You got to earn your way there. I mean, and they're not open... The Mythic Championships, as they're called now, are not really open to public. So, well, this looks like a fine place to start if we can keep this dude alive. We'll keep this. And so, really like competitive draft. Got any advice? And also, if you like competitive draft, one problem with limited GPs is that they're sealed all the first day. You gotta make it to day 2 before you get to draft. I would say go to a GP for sure. They're a lot of fun. I would say be honest with yourself about the format of the GP. I went to Grand Prix Portland a few months ago, and it was modern, and I was prepared to play in that event, and then I was like, I don't actually want to play modern all day. I want to draft all day. So instead, I drafted. If really what you want to do is draft all day long, one thing you can do at a GP is just sign up for their draft packages and do side events all weekend, which is what I ended up doing in Portland. I just drafted side events all weekend. It was great. And if you are looking to be aspirational in your play, though, you pretty much need to play in the main event there. And for that, there's a lot of resources out there in terms of how to prepare for a GP. I would say, you know, Marshall and Luis have done some great episodes on LR about it. Some of the core advice is, you know, remember that it's a very long day. Bring your phone charger with a spare battery, you know, a spare battery for your phone charger. Bring easy to store, easy to eat, protein-packed snacks, like this. Actually, you know, if I were going to a GP, I would take something like this. This is a almonds, cranberries, and cashews Trek mix. That's, you know, that's the only 3 things in it, and I love that. And that burst of protein can really power you through the late end of a long day. I'm not really commenting on what Oppo is doing here, but what they're doing is like curving out on us in a really kind of devastating way, but hopefully we can make some life back here. Oh, and so you meant the side... So Wolf, you're specifically talking about going and doing the side event draft package. I don't know if you can do that at a... then I think that's great. I think you'll have fun. One thing to be aware of that's different is that those side events are single elimination. I had the brutal situation of drafting... I think it was the best deck at the table, and then played round 1 against the second best at the deck at the table, and had a hard-fought, awesome match, but then was done because I lost, you know? So that's less great. So our sequencing here is going to be Druid of the Horns. We hope it survives. And then next turn we go Enchanter into an Oaken form. That would be incroyable. But a lot of blue and black to get through before we get there. So Not expecting necessarily that to play out, but boy, if we get to untap with a Druid of Horns in play and go Satyr Enchanter into Oaken Form without being disrupted, I think this turns around. Still, Enchanter into Oaken Form on Enchanter isn't even that bad. So what I would really like for them is to tap out for something here that's maybe innocuous and give us a chance to clearly set up. Nah, they didn't even tap out, so we have to risk, we're gonna have to risk Enchanter being countered. Let's try it before we decide what land to play here. And we're gonna pay for it like so. And then see about what we do after this. If it gets countered, then we at least have the Palaka follow. But since it didn't get countered, I'm not going to play the Meandering River. We'll play a Forest and actually try and Oaken Form it right now. Yeah, there was a big old pause, but they have Neonate, so we can't learn anything from that pause. We don't know what they have. We're going to go for it. Is it a cast trigger anyway? Yeah, it's cast trigger, so we get the card no matter what here. Vinemare gets the other Oaken Form. And if we draw an untapped land, we get both of those next turn. Will it survive? One murder down, but this is where the blue I really like the blue-black control deck in the format, and what I'm expecting at some point is they play the 2/2 5-drop that brings back their murder and makes life really tough for us. What is this about? They're looking to exile a creature card from their graveyard to make a 2/2 black zombie token, it looks like, or set up some kind of trade. Regardless, we're uninterested in risking anything for 1 damage. What do we offer up here? Because we could go Pegasus Courser into Oaken Form. Vinemare then doesn't get the Oaken Form, which is the really sweet play. But Pegasus Courser hitting the battlefield is also a pretty sweet play. They didn't show a counterspell last time, and they would have countered the Enchanter if they could have, so it's probably safe to play the Mare. Mare. So let's do that. Let's try the Mare. Yeah, they didn't have anything last time, so it makes sense they didn't have anything this time. And this has some risk as well, I suppose. But what are we doing if not attacking with our 5/5 into the blue-black control deck? We gotta try. It's a blue-black deck with all that open mana. I always figure nothing I'm going to do is going to work, and then am happily surprised when everything survives and they untap having done very little. So, great. But 5 mana, 4 cards, black-blue always makes me think I'm in more trouble maybe than I am. We are on low life, but hopefully Palaka Worm changes that. We may go Palaka Worm over Oaken Form just to be sure we get our life total up. Yeah, especially with that Drake, time to gain some life. Oh, is there side event changes? Yeah, I'm telling you what my experience was in Portland. There could be big differences. So now... Again, the 5/5 has clear attacks. We're going to send it, but not the Mare until we can put the Oaken Form on it. We'll see. I think the life gain... Let's see where we're at when we start next turn. Because, yeah, the Drake is a consideration to make a big flyer, but we may just want to make a monstrous hexproofer and creating these 3 huge creatures with a Thornhide Wolves even to add. Like, I'd rather just try and pressure their life total faster than they are pressuring ours, but we'll do some math when we untap. Alright, now maybe we need to make a big flyer. Maybe we need to make a 10-10 Palaka Worm. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then they have to put all 3 in front of it, or take a million? Maybe we just, maybe we just make a big Trampler. Say, solve that problem. Because we draw a card off it as well. They haven't been able to remove it. Yeah, I think I like that. We're gonna make them have an answer for Oaken Form on Palaka Worm. Ooh, and into a Bonds? I think that's just game. I'm not doing the math anymore. Just gonna attack. They still have an untap. We haven't won this yet, but we force a lot of blocks here. And they're bad ones. Yeah. I feel we're in a strong position. Cleansing Nova incoming. We can ditch a Courser. Oh, that's Flash. Oh no, that's just their draw. Alright. We have picked up a game. Brought us back to even on this event. See, you want to take a minute to talk about the new set? About the previews we've seen? Do that. Let me set that up. Where is it? Here we go. This. All right. We'll talk about how we want, what the best way to talk about these cards is, but I'll probably just go through them and read some and tell you my thoughts. And I will also try and keep up a chat box, though, so I can see what questions you all have as we go through it. We'll do that. And then left monitor, right? There we are. No, that's not what I wanted. Try it this way. No, that's not what I wanted. That's what I wanted. Okay, here we are. So just kind of a scanning of the previews and musings about what we think it means and how to evaluate these cards without the context of understanding the full format. Johnny's Pridemate is a reprint. Looks like that's usually a sign that there's some life gain prevalence. It can be, there's always life gain in white though, so sometimes it can be heavily supported. Sometimes it can be lightly supported. The quality of a Johnny's Pridemate is going to depend on the quality of cards that gain life in the format. So we'll see about that. Gideon's Triumph, 1 and a white for an instant uncommon. Target opponent sacrifices a creature that attacked or blocked this turn. If you control a Gideon Planeswalker, that player sacrifices 2 of those creatures instead. Seems great, because you're already happy with the first effect. The fact that it's an instant, the wording could make a newer player think that you had to wait till the end of combat to do this, because they need to have attacked or blocked this turn. But you could do this before damage, after attacking and blocking. It just has to have done one of those things this turn. And so it's fine as without the clause. If you happen to end up with a Gideon Planeswalker and you get 2 creatures, that's pretty great. And one thing you're going to have to... So this creates a little sub-game. If your opponent has 2 open mana, including white, and a Gideon Planeswalker, you got to consider your attacks and whether or not you want to send in 2. Ignite the Beacon is a 5 mana instant, 4 and a white. Search your library for up to 2 Planeswalker cards, reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle your library. That seems awfully clunky, but if the power level is there, a 2-for-1 is a 2-for-1. I mean, we're okay with things like Divination, right? I mean, we tend to expect to draw 3 cards off of a 5 mana blue spell, for example, and this is a white spell, and you only get 2 cards, but it is still instant speed, and they are among the 2 best cards in your deck. But it means you don't have much flexibility. Like maybe you have a handful of Planeswalkers to choose from, but you don't get to pinpoint targets. So what do we think of it though? I think it's a high pick. It's expensive, but again, my prediction is that the format will be on the slower side, and if that's correct, then I think you'll like a card like Ignite the Beacon. It will not be exciting if the format turns out to be faster than I'm thinking Planeswalkers will make it, and this becomes too clunky in the face of some hyper-aggro threat that you need to worry about. Ravnica at War, 3 and a white for a gold, for a rare. Sorcery, exile all multicolored permanents. This is classic WotC. It's very difficult to know what exactly is going to be strong in the standard environment you've created, what exactly is going to be popular, what exactly is going to be broken. You try to give tools to answer anything that might get out of hand. So by creating the right suite of answers, you can be less certain about the power level of your threats. So it's very important for R&D to insert foils into the stuff that they've created so that it helps protect against things getting out of hand. But you don't want the foils to be so good that they undermine the function of the new mechanics that you're trying to push. So it's this tension of pushing and then pushing back against yourself. And Ravnica at War is a great example of how R&D will always push back against themselves a set or 2 later. Ravnica at War is a classic hose the previous block or previous set card that you'll see very often at Rare. And it's somewhat of a fail-safe and somewhat of a let's make sure there are answers to the old set so that, frankly, the new set is more likely to be a power player in the new formats. So it's a little bit devious. You put answers to your old stuff in your new stuff so that the new stuff, so that both you've given that fail-safe in case some of your threats were better or some of your decks were better than you thought, but it also gives you this way to relatively lower the power of your previous stuff to make the newer stuff more appealing. Rising Populace is 2 and a white for a common creature human, 2/2. So we got a Grey Ogre here, and its ability is whenever another creature or planeswalker you control dies, so just your stuff, put a +1/+1 counter on Rising Populace. Oh, my back. Might have to quit early today just to figure out what's up with my back. Or maybe I'll go take some pain meds anyway to take the edge off a little bit. Just got a real twinge there. Anyway, Rising Populace, this type of when your stuff dies, the creature gets bigger effects. We saw a lot historically in the Innistrad sets. And Innistrad sets, in those Innistrad sets, these your stuff dies, gets bigger cards tended to perform fine. They weren't necessarily amazing, but they can totally get out of hand. This is the kind of thing that can become really huge. One thing that will dictate the power of a card like Rising Populace in context is sacrifice outlets. One of the things that made the Innistrad versions of these cards go is that the black-white mechanics in those sets tended to be sacrifice-based, so that you were sacrificing your own stuff to make things like this bigger. So if we see more of that, keep Rising Populace in mind. If your plan with Rising Populace is to have it grow naturally because stuff dies naturally, that's going to be a mixed success. Your opponent gets to think about that as they decide what to kill. They may just kill the Populace itself, and you can't always count on stuff happening in combat the way you want. So I really think of it as a build-around type card, and it's not often going to be amazing just sitting there unless... another thing, if white has a lot of tokens, if white is going super wide with tokens and making some suicidal attacks to get in damage, then this card becomes better as well. And this is a great card to point out that, like, the way to handle... I think the best way to approach card evaluation when a new set comes out is to give it some historical context on power level, and then talk about the contextual aspects of the upcoming set that you don't know yet that are going to affect the power level. So rather than trying to tell you how good this is, I would rather muse about the types of environmental contexts that will impact that card's power. Next one is a single combat, 3 white. For a sorcery, it's a rare. Each player chooses a creature or planeswalker they control, then sacrifices the rest. Players can't cast creature or planeswalker spells until the end of your next turn. That second clause is pretty big. One of the big problems with sweepers is that your opponent gets to act first, and this solves that. And this is another design trick, since the insider design brain stuff is of appeal to my audience. I'll mention that a great way to design Magic cards, and a great way that you can design Magic cards, is to identify your own pain points during a game, and your own pain points with a card or class of cards. So in this case, you could ask yourself, well, what's frustrating about wraths? You know, like as someone, you know, when you think about wraths, what don't you like about them? What are their drawbacks? And then you say, oh, well, you clear the board, but then your opponent gets to act first. And historically, that drawback has been solved with things like giving it an instant clause. There was a Rout, for example, that was a 5-mana wrath that for 7 mana you could play it in its instant speed. Single combat solves that in a different way, but this is a classic design strategy of coming up with what doesn't work about a card class you like and trying to solve that problem with rules text and coming up with a new card on the way. In terms of whether we like this, I don't tend to like these effects. You want your sweepers, like what you want sweepers for is that they clear the board. It doesn't matter what your opponent is playing. You get rid of it all and then set that up. What this does is say, well, your opponent gets to keep their Palaka Worm. We were just playing with Palaka Worm, so I use that as an example. And that's the thing that's killing you, right? So I'm actually pretty down on single combat, even though it does solve the wrath problem that makes wraths somewhat annoying. It creates a new one, which is that it's not really a wrath. It actually lets them keep their best thing, which is too good. It is an anti-wide card, and I would bring it in that context. But as a main deck card, it does not appeal to me. Teo, the Shield Mage, 2 and a white for a legendary Planeswalker at uncommon. So this is our first uncommon Planeswalker that we've talked about. And we get to talk about the way that they're approaching these new Planeswalkers. It says, has 3 mana, enters with a loyalty of 5, but he only has one ability. It's a minus ability. -2, create a 0/3 white wall creature token with Defender. And it has the static ability, you have hexproof. In limited, you have hexproof tends not to be super important, so that part's not impressive. And so then we get to the meat of what the value proposition is here. And these are weird to evaluate, right? This is a whole new kind of card, really. Yes, it's a Planeswalker, but it's a Planeswalker unlike anything we've seen before in terms of evaluating it. So how do we evaluate it? At the end of the day, Magic card evaluation still comes down to a mana cost for this card in your deck and some sort of impact on the game. Is the impact on the game worth the combination of the card, the mana cost, or in the case of Planeswalkers, also the tempo, the time it's going to take to do that? So over the course of 2 turns, for 3 mana, you get 2 0/3 white walls and hexproof. Because this is the type of creature that you should probably not worry about, unless you could have that spot where it's like, well, I win the game if they could stop having hexproof. But for the most part, the play pattern here is make a couple of walls and hope that they do 3 mana and a card worth of value. And I'm dubious. If they made 0/4 walls, I would actually, I might come around on this card as being like, okay, this is the kind of thing you want in your Skies deck. But what we got to look out for here is what the magic toughness is. 0/3 tends to miss for me on blocking. 3/2s for 3 are a big toolbox card in common for R&D now. There was an article recently, I think it was Ari Lax who wrote about the design implications of leaning on 3/2s for 3 at common in your limited formats and what that does for them. But basically, it makes stuff trade a lot. But if that's and that tends to be the world we're in and that's a world in which 0/3 defenders do not impress me at all. If somehow this is a Zendikar world where everything is 2 power, although nothing can get blocked in Zendikar for other reasons, but the point is, if this is a 2 power world, then suddenly I'm more interested in something that makes 0/3 white wall creatures with defender. But my prediction is that there will be too much rampant 3 power at 3 mana to justify spitting out a bunch of nothings. So thumbs down on Teo, depending on, but could go up if 3 toughness is somehow a magic number in the format. Right, or that's the kind of thing. Carrie, if that's where I'm getting at with 3 toughness being a magical number. If it's really important to have 3 toughness things because of the nature of the strong decks in the format, that Teo will go up. Teo apparently also has a light shield, which is a 2 and a white for an 0/3 creature illusion at common, and when Teo's light shield enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. So at worst, it's a classic turtle, a 1/4 for 3. There you get the 4 toughness that I'm talking about. 4 toughness tends to be significantly better than 3 in ways that creatures will end up bearing that out, whether that's true or not. But again, I just think 4 toughness tends to be a big deal, and you don't even have to put it on itself. But of course, if you don't, then it becomes the same 0/3, kind of worthless 0/3 that I was bagging on from Teo. So, but the ability to have a 1/4 as the floor, and the ability to accept an 0/3 with a +1/+1 counter elsewhere when that's a better situation is not bad. I think it's going to be playable, but not amazing. And also it depends on what strategies are good. If a blue-white Skies deck is a real thing in the format, then we'll probably like Light Shield, because those turtles on the ground do a good job of holding the fort while your flyers get the jobs done. Reporter voice, yes, that's all well and good, but can you confirm whether or not the Wanderer is Elspeth? No, I cannot. I can make something up. Me Popolo says, hey there, Ryan. I am here because I heard about your stream on the latest episode of Limited Resources. Cool idea. Excited to check out the channel. Well, I'm certainly glad you found us and hope you're enjoying the content today. Fanatic Guru thinks Teo's okay. Yeah, it's okay. This is the kind of design. Let me talk about this design space, though, for a second. The uncommon Planeswalker and the implications here. This obviously has a much different intended play pattern from a typical Planeswalker. What this is screaming with its numbers is that what you're supposed to do with these is use them twice and then have them sit there with a passive effect, right? But there's other things in the format that might give you another counter on it. You can actually increase the counters on your minus-only Planeswalkers because Proliferate is in the set, so keep that in mind. But I mentioned that my only real involvement with this set was partially taking the rare poll, taking a look at some of the rares and giving my feedback on them. For this rare poll, because uncommon planeswalkers were so controversial, they also included the uncommon planeswalkers in the rare poll. So I did take a look at some of these uncommon planeswalkers, and honestly, they kind of bug me, and I said that. Maybe I'll get over it. But planeswalkers have always occupied this important mythic spot in my heart since they've been introduced. I love that, there was only one set where planeswalkers were not mythic, and that was Lorwyn, because afterwards, after Lorwyn block, the next time a planeswalker appeared, we had mythic in Shards of Alara, and so the planeswalkers in Shards of Alara were mythic. And we've never looked back on really planeswalkers as mythics before, and I think that's great. They are the superheroes. They are the Spider-Man and Superman and Wonder Woman of our game, and I can't even imagine the game without it now. And I had the same reaction to the kind of the crappy planeswalkers in the intro decks that I have to these. These cheapen planeswalkers. These make the awesomeness of fully powered mythic planeswalkers less exciting. And we get over things fast in Magic. I'll probably be over this within a week of playing the set. It's kind of like the Mistform Ultimus thing, where everybody loved Mistform Ultimus, which is the creature that that had the rules ability that it was all creature types. Just a just a hill giant with all creature types. But it was a fan favorite. People loved that rare. And then in Lorwyn, when they pulled that rules text into a keyword mechanic of what do they call it? Can't remember it now. But the mechanic in of that set, like it made a lot of people sad. Changeling, thank you. The introduction of Changeling made a lot of Mistform Ultimus fans sad because their special card, Mistform Ultimus, was now not special. Now commons had Mistform Ultimus text. So now it felt like a dumb, stupid rare that was just like underpowered and not special at all. Hey, Wujo. And I worry about that feeling here with these planeswalkers. They're interesting. They're interesting mechanically. They just kind of make me sad on a meaning level. But in a way, you can think of these as, if we think of, so to counter-argue my own opinion on these, like, if planeswalkers are our superheroes, well, there's a big power band in the strength of superheroes, right? And so it makes sense that there's a big power band in the strength of planeswalkers. And I am no flavor goob, but I have certainly spent a lot of time with and around the people who make the Magic story. And so apologies in advance if I'm butchering any of the lore here, especially to Kelly Diggs. Kelly Diggs, if you're out there somewhere and I get any of this wrong, I apologize. But my understanding of Magic in the multiverse is that, planeswalkers are super rare. They're 1 in a million. Entire worlds, entire Earths that in these multiverses have just a handful of planeswalkers on them. So these mages that can work all sorts of different kinds of powerful magic are rare. What's more common is that most of the denizens of a plane are in fact not magical at all. They're just living their daily life. And the handful of people that are magical are specialists. They know one spell. There's that guy who knows shock, like that magic users are rare, and when they occur, they tend to be very limited in their scope anyway. And so in that way, you could make an argument that, like, Teo being a minor superhero with a weaker ability is reflective of typical superhero universes where you have some characters whose powers just aren't that impressive relative to Superman or whatever, but they still get to exist. They still are someone with magical powers, so we can tell their story, right? And so in that way, I understand flavorfully where they are coming from, but to me, I kind of like the world where when you saw a planeswalker, you kind of knew it was powerful. Tybalt and some planeswalkers were misses, but at least they were attempting to be powerful. Usually they were attempting to be narrow but powerful. Tybalt was attempting to be powerful by being efficient, and it just wasn't. That was kind of an experiment. But overall, I just like that historically planeswalkers have occupied this mythic spot in our hearts and are kind of like guaranteed powerful on some axis. And now I feel like all the introduction of these weird planeswalkers in the intro packs that are technically in standard but aren't in the set's boosters and are really, I don't like that. And then I don't like that these kind of cheapen the mythic stuff. So yeah, right. 1 in a million is was a poor thing to say in terms of trying to express the rareness of a planeswalker in a plane. I should have gone for 1 in 5 billion. How about that? 1 in a couple billion to find a planeswalker on a given plane. Although I would say that in these medieval style planes that we tend to visit in Magic World, I don't think they're as populous as Earth is. Let's finish up white and then get back to playing. And speaking of the Wanderer, there was some question. There's some. I guess there's questions in the community about the identity of this here planeswalker. Yeah, Wujo, that's what I'm saying, right? Like these planes don't seem like they're struggling with the populations that Earth is. I don't think that's Elspeth. I could be wrong. Is that? Do we know anything about that shoulder armor? Is that known shoulder armor or something? I don't know. I bet we'll find out, though. What does the Wanderer do? The Wanderer says 3 and a white for a 5 loyalty planeswalker. With static ability, prevent all non-combat damage that would be dealt to you and other permanents you control, and -2 exile target creature with power 4 or greater. Seems like in best of 3, this is going to be a great one to decide what to do with after game 1. I think you're going to main deck this mostly, and it's going to be good. It has the potential to be amazing. I think you're going to play 1 no problem and figure, okay, even if I'm paying 4 mana to exile one thing with power 4 or greater, that's going to be worth it. But we've seen a lot of these effects in Magic these days, the white card that gets rid of a biggie. And they tend to be fine, right? We tend to want to play 1 and then see about what to do with more copies after sideboarding. In this case, you get a couple of bonuses. For one thing, it can sometimes get a couple, right? It has the ability to get 2 large creatures. So if they have 1 out and you play this and exile 1, you've also kind of put them in a spot where they can't even really play into it with another one. So it can really mess up their future plans. Even if you're feeling like, I'm not getting that second one, it might be stuck in their hand. And then prevent all non-combat damage that would be dealt to you and other permanents you control is no joke against red. It's like turns off red removal. And so I think this is going to be kind of a best of 3 all-star in terms of being an option from the board, or a recognition that, oh, this is a fantastic matchup for this card. But I think its floor is a typical deal with 1 big creature type of card, but its ceiling is really great of really shutting down red removal and 2 for 1ing your opponent. So I think this one's fine. This one's very good. And then I'm just seeing what Oni is sharing. Oh, solid clues. Same kind of pose, although it's pretty typical as well. Maybe. Yeah, I honestly don't know the answer. That's how distant I was from R&D by the time this stuff was being worked on. Okay, final card before some more magic. Wanderer's Strike is 4 and a white for a sorcery. Exile target creature, then proliferate. Proliferate is amazing, especially if there's other things besides just planeswalkers. It says choose any number of permanents and or players, then give each another counter of each kind already there. That's very powerful, especially if there's other stuff that cares about counters. And 5 mana is a lot, but it's unconditional and it's exile. It's not instant speed. What was the Dominaria one got enchantments or creatures and was instant speed, right? So that's kind of our comparison point. Same mana cost, and we lose the ability to deal with enchantments, and we lose the ability to cast this at instant speed in exchange for being able to proliferate. And I think that's a pretty fair exchange. So I expect this to be somewhat like the card was in Dominaria, which is to say a strong pick that you're happy to take for a white deck. It's very splashable, so you'd take it early knowing that you could splash it in a non-white deck. And that makes it... and this proliferate, you'll see, is going to be a big thing in this format, I'm sure, with all these Planeswalkers running around. Okay, that's the end of white. Got in some good chats there on that, and I'll try to be less long-winded, or we'll put more time into this tomorrow and kind of cover the rest of some of the rest of the stuff. But I think, yeah, with the way my back's treating me right now, I'm gonna get in at least another game here, and then see how I'm feeling after that. Might have to wrap up this stream early just to take care of my old man problems. Oh, Lab Maniac is back. Didn't see. Oh, well, anyway, we'll come back to this later. Let's I'll get this minimized. Oh, a new Jace. Jace the Lab Maniac, I get it. It was part of his rules. Got it. Okay. Well, get one or two more games in here before my back gives way. How about that? Keepable. We're not going to bonds our own druid, but happy with this hand. And Oppo has mold. Maybe we should change our card backs. I don't mind the classic, but there's some cool stuff. Ooh. Yeah. A little tender right now for... Getting old isn't fair. Looks like a bunch of aura decks here. A couple of aura decks. Are we trading with that? We have another Courser. No, we'll eventually get a Wolves down that'll start dealing with that. This is taking big chunks out of us right now, but I don't think we want to trade a Courser for it. Then everything else can attack. Another Pegasus Courser doesn't do anything differently in terms of our blocks, so we'll just max our mana. And stay back. Ooh, Wanderer is a War Leader is a great card. We're going to bonds that. And take it from the Swift Claw once more. Hopefully we draw a land and we can play a Chaplain. Alright, good, good. Bonds the War Leader, though. And get a Chaplain down. And I will trade the Chaplain for the Swift Claw, if they want to do that. Well, maybe I don't have to. We're going to get a Thornhide down. Let's do that here. This is going to tap my Thornhide, so we'll keep everything back. We need to get two biggies down, and then the stag doesn't clear enough away. All right, they're kind of tapped out. Great. So they're down to only being able feeling like they have that attack. We get to Chaplain the Swift Claw and then drop a Bristling Boar to hopefully stop the attacks entirely. Well, they're steadily going in the wrong direction. I like our long-term inevitability against a deck like we're seeing here, but they could find the go-wide pump to end it quickly if we don't find some support, because we still don't have an attack yet. We gotta protect our life total. Well, all right. We got to try and trade for this stag. If this is a combat trick, this could go poorly for us, but we have to try here. I think this is the go wide thing. Well, then they would just attack with everything. I'm not sure. I don't understand this attack exactly, but we don't have much room to play around stuff. So we're gonna pretend like they're just getting frisky because we can't really beat a pump the team spell. Yeah, and they just drew it. Oh, they were attacking with everything? Sorry, I thought they I thought this was being held. Oh, this was a defender. That's what was getting me. I didn't know why this was attacking. That's what was confusing me. And now that's, I think, just going to kill us. Let's sandbag the land and pretend we have something at least. Give us a chance. Because if we Palaka, if they for some reason don't go for the kill here, we can Palaka and buy some time. And I guess we're not fully dead. We get to go to 1. And then a Palaka would buy us a little more time. All right. One time Palaka. How about Palaka, Palaka? Palaka, 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 Palaka. Palaka? No. That's what we've been getting today, a land. Maybe for the best anyway. At least we're taking a big lump on the paid account, so it doesn't impact us as significantly in terms of our goals for the free-to-play account. But we didn't get this one. Could not play around the inspired charge, and it hurt. Since it's only 11:20 though, and that did not take long to bust out of this event, let's at least do another color. But maybe let me take a short walk around break. Maybe I can take a pain medication and do some gentle stretching that will get me through at least another color of previews. How about that? Go open this pack.